Listen up, people. That's right. It's time to listen to the sparks of bliss in your life. I'm your host and life coach, Caroline de Posada from Miami, Florida. And this podcast is an invitation to join me in upgrading our mindset, wellness, and relationships so that together we create a life that unlocks our bliss. Join me each week as we explore practical strategies, inspiring stories, and the moments of clarity, or as we like to call them, los momenticos, that make the world a little more magical. Consider this your weekly dose of wisdom in your pocket. Are you ready? Let's do this.
Hey, Blisteners. Welcome to episode number 16 of Blissin' Up. Today, I want to talk about finding sparks of bliss in the ordinary. Now, I was thinking about this topic because I often say that bliss is something that you can't fake and you can't force, but you can find. And sometimes it surprises you. And I always say bliss is within you, but all you have to do is like pay attention for it. And I found myself finding bliss this week in a strange moment. Like it totally caught me by surprise. And I thought, oh, this is awesome. Like I was like, I loved the moment. And I wanted to share that with you. And then I had a conversation with a friend of mine that I thought, wait, maybe this isn't just me. Maybe this is a little bit more common than I realize. And then I read about it in a book. It was like, it was one of those synchronistic moments where I just realized we got to talk about it. So this is how it happened for me. This week is back to school week in my home. Now, summer is a time where there is a lot of chaos because the kids, not chaos isn't the right word. There's just a lack of routine is really what it is. So there's a lack of routine because the kids are home. They don't have a set wake up schedule or bed schedule. Some weeks they have summer camp. Some weeks they don't. Some weeks we're traveling. Some weeks we're not. It's just kind of like a free flow state. And I know some people love that free flow state. And I tend to love that free flow state for a few weeks post the end of year craziness. And then it starts to get old and I start longing for routine and habit again. Does that happen to you? I don't know. So anyway, I'm driving my kids to school and I drop them off and I'm on my way back. And I know so I have a full day ahead, right? I have coaching clients. I'm going to go to the gym. I kind of like have my routine all set. And all of a sudden, as I'm driving back, I don't know what it was, but it was just this sheer spark of bliss that I experienced. It was like this moment of like, oh my goodness. It felt like I'm back to my life. I'm back to bliss. And it caught me so much by surprise because the moment was so insignificant. It was so ordinary. And I've been trying to put my finger on what it was. And I want to say is that I just felt like I had a routine again. And for the last few months, I have not felt like I have a well-oiled routine and a routine that serves me, that where I'm like going to the gym and having some time for myself and, just not being in that free flow state. Like it just felt really great for me to have that. So the following day, I'm on a call with my financial advisor and we're catching up because we haven't spoken for a while about our summers and life and the families and whatever. And he and his family are always traveling in the summer. They have tons of trips and tons of fun stuff. I mean, just awesome stuff. But as I'm having this conversation with him about everything that he did, I said, so let me ask you, are you like summered out? Like, are you ready to get back into routine? Or, do you want to keep going with all this crazy traveling and, a crazy summer life? And he started laughing and he said, you're not going to believe this, but this morning I woke up early. I was writing in my gratitude journal, and he's like, and I found, it was like the craziest thing. I found myself feeling so grateful for the piece of banana and peanut butter that I have before my workout, for being able to sit down and open a book and read. He was like, I have craved my routine forever because great summer, we've done all these amazing things, but I haven't had the opportunity to just live my routine that I love, right? And I was so grateful for it this morning. And he was describing a spark of bliss, like just being in his house, waking up, knowing that he was going to have his workout, knowing what food he was going to eat before his workout, knowing that he was going to have time to sit down and read his book, writing in his little gratitude journal. Like, it was that little routine brought him so much joy. And then I'm reading in a great book, which if you haven't read it, you should. I'll put it in the show notes. The Blessed of a Skin Knee. It's a Jewish book, a Jewish parenting book. I've read it many, many years ago, and I'm not sure why I was inspired to reread it, but I have been inspired to reread it as of late. Actually, I do know the reason. I had dinner with a girlfriend of mine who recently, her husband became like an Orthodox Jew, and they're honoring a lot of their Jewish traditions that maybe they didn't practice as religiously before. And I was very fascinated by it, and it inspired me to reread the book. So that's why I'm rereading it. But as I'm reading it, she's talking about taking advantage of daily chores and everyday opportunities. And she called them holy opportunities. And she wrote, for the sparkling rays waiting to be released. Like, she was talking about how we can use regular mundane chores, regular mundane ordinary moments to honor God and to have our children honor God, to make it like a holy moment, and how in there you find the sparkle, like you find the sparks. And she said sparkling rays, but I call it sparks of bliss. And I was like, wow, there's something to this. And then I went a little deeper and I thought about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and then how Tony Robbins adapted Maslow's hierarchy of needs into the 6 personal needs. And they both allude to this, just using different words, but I'm going to use Tony Robbins' words because I think that they're more appropriate for this. He talks about how one of our needs is certainty and the other need is uncertainty or variety. And in reality, it's a very interesting thing because there's this paradox. A part of us wants to feel in control, avoid stress, have habits, routines, safety, and like we need that for self-actualization, to feel really wonderful in our lives. But then we also need variety, which is change and excitement and feeling a little bit lack of control and some challenges. Otherwise we get bored. So as I was looking at this paradox of variety and certainty, of certainty and uncertainty, which Maslow refers to as like safety versus self-actualization, and looking at this paradox, I then understood why these seasons are so important and how they're part of the human experience. It's why when in May, we are conditioned, we are programmed to long for a free flow state. And it's also why in August we are pre-programmed for longing our routines. And that just happens to be the way that our school schedule works right now. But you see it in nature and you see it in all cycles of life. But when we think about enjoying bliss and we think about a life of bliss, we usually think that that is reserved for the extraordinary, for that variety, for the uncertainty. We think it's going to surprise us at the top of the mountain, or it's going to surprise us when we're achieving the biggest goals ever, or we are on the best vacation ever, or at the best party ever. And we feel like those moments are reserved for that. And they do exist in those moments. Absolutely. But the beauty of life is that they also exist in the morning commute to a school or to work. They also exist after you've been on a long trip and you get back to your morning routine and your workout. It exists in all the ordinary moments too. It could exist while you're washing the dishes and looking outside and seeing your orchids blooming. It can exist on a walk by your neighborhood because you happen to have walked by one of your favorite areas and you love the nature in that particular area that you walk. Or it could exist because a butterfly comes at you when you're walking around and you know it's a sign from something bigger. It's just, they exist in all the moments, in the big ones and the exciting ones and in the mundane ones. And that's why it's so important to pay attention and to listen for the sparks, because they're everywhere in the extraordinary and the ordinary. But then there's the question of, well, what if I'm not finding sparks in the ordinary? What if I am not enjoying my commute, or I'm dreading the drive, or I'm dreading going to work, or I dread the chores that I have to do? Or what if you're just not seeing the sparks anywhere? Then what? And that's when I invite you to analyze your life. You see, the thing about enjoying sparks of bliss in the ordinary, it's in the ordinary of a life you love, a life you have created that serves you. So I see this often when you create a life of wellness, when you have good habits, when you have positive relationships, when you have financial stability, when you have good social connection, when you have a career you love. Those are contributions towards enjoying the sparks in the ordinary. You have created a life you enjoy. You've created a life you love. Now, when you do not have those things, if you are struggling in one area or the other area, if you are maybe going through a difficult patch in your marriage, or you are going through a rough financial patch, or you happen to dislike your job, it gets a little harder because you maybe are focused on the things that are draining your energy, the things that are robbing you of joy. Maybe you aren't in a place where you're paying attention to the sparks of bliss or to those beautiful, ordinary, moments. And that's when I invite you to pay attention to what is robbing you of your energy. What is that thing that is draining you? What is that thing that has to change? And I want you to know that you can change it. Now, sometimes nothing has to change for everything to change. It's really just about changing your perspective and changing the lens with which you look at the world. So sometimes it's as simple as changing your thoughts, changing your views, changing your perspective, changing that lens. That can make all the difference. And sometimes it requires active, proactive change, changing your habits, creating new habits. implementing big, hard changes that you know you have to do in your life because you look at the path and you realize you're not on your path to bliss. You're not on an aligned path. You have fallen off path. You are misaligned in any area of your life. So today, I invite you to think about your life. Are you pursuing the path to a life that sparks bliss? Are you pursuing a path where you can find the sparks in the ordinary and the extraordinary? That's what we're aiming for. And that's what I would love to help you with if you need a little extra support. If you want to gain some clarity on what that looks like or organize your life according to those goals, I would love to support you in that. And that's where my special invitation comes in. This August 24th, I am hosting a free group coaching walking session. If you are in Miami or you're local and you want to join us, or if you happen to be in Miami that weekend of August 24th, you are also welcomed to join us. But we're going to be walking to the sunrise. It's about a 5.5 mile walk. And we're going to be talking about these concepts, right? We're going to be talking about our mindset, our wellness, and relationships. We're going to be connecting with other like-minded people who are creating a life that sparks bliss, who are following that path. It's going to be a beautiful time, a good time for reflection, for intentions, for connections, and for time with me to talk about this a little bit deeper, to just experience the moment, to get a little coaching. I think it's going to be great. So I hope you'll join us. I'll be putting an RSVP sheet in the show notes. So if you want the details, make sure you click on the show notes and click on the RSVP and you'll get the details. You can sign up and let me know you're coming. And if not, send me an email or find me on Instagram, Caroline at carolinedeposada.com or at Caroline de Posada on Instagram or Facebook, and connect with me that way and let me know you want to come. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you have a wonderful start to your next week. And I hope this week you find some sparks of bliss in the ordinary moments. Have a great one, guys.
That's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for being here. I am deeply, deeply grateful for this time to connect. Now, if you are feeling called to dig deeper and really work on elevating your mindset, your wellness, and your relationships, and you're looking for a life coach to work with you one-on-one and really help you just retrain your brain, define success on your own terms, and just live healthier, happier, and more meaningful life, well, I invite you to schedule a consult with me. Let's have a conversation and see if working together is in our future. You can find the link to calendar of consult right there in my show notes, but you can also connect with me on my website, carolinedeposada.com, or send me a DM on Instagram at Caroline de Posada. I'm so excited to connect with you a little further. Now, as far as this podcast goes, I would so appreciate if you could leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Those reviews help us so much. And like my friend always says, the project is big and you're a part of it. So thank you for helping me spread good in this world.